What's up, everyone? 138 MMA here. Now, if you remember on the community tab, I put out that my videos got corrupted, so my whole card breakdown was lost. Well, I wanted to be able to get you something today, so here we are. I'm in the back room at work. I'm going to break down the main event for the card, Glover Teixeira versus Jamahal Hill. I'm going to do this fight in its entirety, and then I will add this to the end of the full card breakdown when I get the rest of those videos recorded tonight, which will be a very late night, and hopefully uploaded tomorrow. So without any wasted time, let's get right into this fight here. So for the main event here, we have Glover Teixeira taking on Jamahal Hill. Of course, both guys 4-1 in their last 5 fights. Jamahal Hill's lost being that submission to Paul Craig with the arm where the elbow came out. And for Glover Teixeira, his lone loss is also a submission, but it's to Yuri Prochazka when he lost the title. Both guys very accomplished in the division, but at different stages in their career. As you see, Glover Teixeira, 43 years of age. For Jamahal Hill, he's only 31, so he's still up and coming, still kind of in that prime, actually, especially for the light heavyweight division. Jamahal Hill's got a long career ahead of him. Glover, on the other hand, he's kind of on the way out. So for Teixeira, maybe he gets this win here, maybe he doesn't. But if he doesn't, is it time to retire? If he does he still retire? He said he wouldn't retire, but that's for him to decide. Who knows? But either way, in this matchup, the physical intangibles, I think it's pretty easy to say, are going to be on the Jamahal Hill side. Now, Jamahal Hill, he's also 6'4" with a 79-inch reach, as opposed to the 6'2", 76-inch reach that we see for Teixeira. Now, that's not a massive difference, but Jamahal Hill is someone who uses his range really well. Now, I wanted to point that out now because Jamahal Hill, if you look back in any of those fights, he's able to keep guys at range while using his forward pressure, and not many people can do that. So we look at Glover's last matchup, which was Yuri Prochazka. Yuri Prochazka also has good forward pressure, but he doesn't keep guys at range. He just, as he closes distance, his arms get in tighter and he starts doing hooks and uppercuts and things like that, spinning elbows, whatever. He starts working those type of things. Jamahal Hill doesn't do that. He uses good, crisp boxing to keep you at long range. Yes, he'll hit you with a hook as you get in closer, but he'll re-establish the distance that he can use so well, that 79-inch reach. He'll reestablish that as he walks you up to the cage or gets himself off the cage, working with that forward pressure. So this is an interesting way to look at this matchup because Glover Teixeira, also a guy with heavy forward pressure. Now his forward pressure, I would say, more aggressive than Jamahal Hill's, but his goal is different. Glover Teixeira's goal isn't to back you up so you have nowhere to run and crack you with a big shot. Like, sure, he'll take that shot if he can get you, but his goal is to get a hold of you, drag you to the ground and pound you into submission because that's what he does so well. Glover Teixeira's grappling it's very damaging. It's an abrasive grappling style. When he gets you down, he does have decent wrestling, but a lot of times it's not his wrestling that's what's going to get you down particularly. It's a combination of that with his forward pressure and his decent striking that he throws just with some good volume. Dirty boxing. He is the dirty boxing king. When it gets up against the cage, he starts damaging you to pull you down for that takedown and then get on top of you with that grappling. But then he sets up that ground and pound, right? So that ground and pound, he's using that to set up the sub or a TKO, but obviously he's using that to set up that submission attempt. And what he did that caused him not to be so successful in the Prochazka fight was that what he did is instead of just taking the win with the ground and pound, he kind of prematurely went for that submission. And that caused Prochazka a few opportunities where he could scramble, get out, make some space, look for submissions of his own, and he ended up getting one, obviously. But it gave Prochazka chances. And Glover Teixeira, the reason he did that is because he's starting to fade a little bit as he's aged. So he has slowed down with his age. I don't think he's totally washed or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. Glover Teixeira is still one of the best in the entire light heavyweight division. But that's what caught him there, is instead of just using that ground and pound to really cement that finish, kind of like he did to poor Anthony Smith, where he knocked his darn teeth out. He beat that boy to a pulp, but he didn't do that in the Prochazka fight. When he had the moments to do that, he knew, okay, this is 5 rounds. I'm exhausted. I need to get this done with a submission now, as opposed to try to do this, keep doing these ground and pound, and then carry on to it later rounds if he happens to survive. So he tried to go for the submission early, a little premature in that situation, and that's what cost him. Now, has he learned from that? I'm sure that he has. Glover Teixeira is a very smart guy, but when your cardio starts to fail you, what do? Well, you try to rush it again. So is that going to happen here? I don't know. I can't predict whether or not it's going to happen accurately with my crystal ball or anything. I can only go off of what I'm assuming he will do based on previous actions and based on where he's at in his level of his career, which right now it's towards the back end of the career. Let's be honest. So with that, you have a guy in Jamahal Hill who his combat to this is uses really good boxing that he has, and it's crisp. He has crisp boxing. People think he's just a big power puncher. Yes, he is a power puncher. He has serious power, and he keeps it late into fights. Glover Teixeira is never out of danger in this matchup with Jamahal Hill because that power lasts. But he is a good boxer, skill for skill. He has the boxing technique, and he's got volume to put behind it. So that's something that he's going to try to use to put Glover Teixeira in the danger zone every time he wants to get that takedown. Now, if Glover's coming in, Hill's keeping the range. Well, Glover's got to cover some distance to be able to get to Hill, and he's in the danger zone every time he does it. Now, if he goes in, doesn't get the first takedown, because Jamahal Hill's initial takedown defense is usually pretty good. When you start chaining them together, yes, you can get him down. He has shown the ability to get back up when taken down, but you can get him down as you've, kind of worked your way through. Something that's interesting, though, that we're gonna see how it goes up here is Glover usually uses the striking to get to either the cage to drag you to the ground, or use the striking to get your hands up so he can get a hold of your legs and pull you down to the mat with his takedowns. Typically, he wants to get you up the cage, dirty box you, and pull you down. That's what he wants to do. Now, Jamahal Hill, he's going to circle off at that range. He has very good striking defense and the ability to read his opponent's punches. Now, Glover Teixeira's punches aren't traditional boxing punches. Typically, he does have nice striking, just not in the way that you would think from a technical standpoint. A lot of times, he'll wing a shot to get in low, and that's okay. A lot of wrestlers do that, but Jamahal Hill's planning for this. He's seen these things. He reads opponents well. That's what he is. That is how he's able to move, in the pocket and then throw those shots and then get back at range. Move in, hit those shots, get back at range. That's why he's able to do those things. Jamahal Hill's kind of looked over as a boxing talent here. So something else I wanted to point out here. If we have Jamahal Hill, he's controlling the range, and Glover is going to have to cover distance every time he comes in. What happens if Glover doesn't get the first takedown? Well, he's going to eat a shot from Jamahal Hill. Now, Glover's very durable. If you see, I put that up there. He's very durable. But how many times is Glover going to be willing to go in looking for that takedown, using that striking to get in, trying to push him up against the cage? How many times is he going to be willing to do that, eating a shot from a guy like Jamahal Hill? Probably not a lot, to be honest. He didn't want to eat shots from Yuri either, rightfully so. I wouldn't. Yuri hits hard. But with Yuri, it wasn't the same because Yuri throws inside shots. He throws hooks, uppercuts, elbows, things like that are short range. So by the time Yuri's able to hit Glover, Glover's already on Yuri. By the time Jamal's able to hit Glover, Glover's still at range and still has to close that distance. And that straight shot can stop that takedown right there. Now, do I think striking is a good takedown defense? No, it's a horrible takedown defense. But the threat of it is going to be there for Glover Teixeira. Now, come rounds 3, 4, 5, I think those are going to be all Jamahal Hill. So, for Glover Teixeira in this matchup, he needs to get this one done earlier because his cardio is going to start to fade. I don't believe that Jamahal Hill's is. I don't think that he's going to be able to get Jamahal Hill out of there in the 4th or the 5th round. We saw Prochazka able to put a choke on Glover Teixeira, who's a far better jiu-jitsu player than Yuri Prochazka is. And for Yuri Prochazka to be able to choke him out, that says that Glover Teixeira is starting to fade with his age. And that's not something, you can't fault the guy for it. It's just the fact younger guys typically win. There's a 12-year age gap here. Jamahal Hill's got a massive advantage there. First round, Glover Teixeira has a really good chance of winning this, especially if he can get in on that first takedown, maybe second takedown, and land some serious damage. After that, Jamahal Hill is every round going to get better and better and better, whereas Teixeira gets worse and worse and worse. Jamahal Hill's power is going to keep, his boxing is going to keep, his range is going to keep. Teixeira's takedowns are going to get sloppier, his punches are going to get sloppier, and his cardio is going to get worse and worse. Now, yes, Jamahal Hill will get tired eventually, but I think it's going to happen to Teixeira faster. So for me, when I look at this matchup, I will say I played a line on Glover Teixeira when it first came out because he was a massive underdog. He was like plus 145 or something, plus 145. Jamahal Hill right now is at plus or minus 120. I thought for sure he was going to be the underdog at some point. So then we end up with, okay, I wanted to arbitrage this one, and we're not there yet. I don't think it's going to get there anymore. Now I'm starting to think people are catching on to the Jamahal Hill. So if that's not the case, how do I make it plus money for Jamahal Hill? Well, I got a couple options here. I want to make the Jamahal Hill pick. So do I say, okay, I'm going to pick Jamahal Hill over 1.5 rounds? Maybe, but there's also a chance that Jamahal Hill just starches Glover Teixeira right away. What I'm thinking is, if I just take Jamahal Hill inside the distance, it should get me to even money, and then I'm clean. And I can arbitrage it, and then if Glover wins, I make a bunch of money, and if Jamahal Hill's, I'm clean. I'm good. If Jamahal Hill wins, I'm clean. My pick, though, I do think Jamahal Hill's going to get this one done. I do think Jamahal Hill is going to be able to get this fight. I think he's going to get the finish on Glover at some point. When I placed that bet on Glover, it was try to beat the line movement because I thought for sure that Glover was going to be the favorite. And he still might, but it's not looking like it. And after you guys see my video and start to understand, and like, oh, hey, he's got a point there. Maybe that'll be the case for more people are betting on Jamahal Hill. So I do think Jamahal Hill's the rightful pick. I think he's the better fighter for more minutes in this fight. Now, like I said, first round, Glover's deadly. So maybe you play Glover by submission, or maybe you play Glover by maybe you play them both inside the distance. This fight probably isn't going the distance. So either way, let me know what you guys think.